You ever been using an app and it just breaks? It glitches out, it freezes, and you've got no clue why? Well, imagine you're the developer who built that thing. That feeling is about 100 times worse. When your own application is a total black box, finding the root of the problem can feel impossible. So today, we're going to pry that box open.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the problem itself, that unseen glitch. Then we'll introduce the solution, which is this idea of observability. We'll break it down into its 3 core pillars, see how they actually work in the real world, and then we'll tie it all together to show why this stuff is so incredibly important for any modern piece of software.
So, let's set the scene, shall we? Sooner or later, every complex app is going to fail in a way that nobody, and I mean nobody, saw coming. The real question is, what do you do when that happens?
I mean, this is the question, right? This is what keeps engineers staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. The system is live, users are getting angry, the clock is ticking, the pressure is just immense. And without the right way to see inside the system, you're basically just guessing in the dark.
Just picture this for a second. A financial app starts glitching out. Transactions are failing left and right. Customers are, understandably, freaking out. And every single minute this is happening, real money is being lost. The system has become a black box. Requests go in, errors come out. But what's happening in the middle is a total mystery. This is the exact nightmare scenario that observability was created to prevent.
So how do we shine a light inside that black box? Well, the answer is a concept called observability. And trust me, it's a huge leap forward from the way we used to do things with traditional monitoring. Okay, let's really unpack this definition, because it's important. Notice it's not just about watching for problems you already know about. Observability is about having the power to ask brand new questions about your system when it gets into some weird state you have never seen before, and getting answers from the data it's already putting out. No frantic redeploys needed.
And this right here just nails the difference. See, monitoring is kind of like the dashboard in your car. It can tell you if the engine is overheating because you decided ahead of time to install a temperature gauge. It answers questions you already knew to ask. But observability? That's like having a master mechanic who can listen to some completely new, bizarre sound the engine is making and figure out exactly what's wrong by exploring all the data in real time. It lets you debug the unknown.
So, how do we actually get this deep, diagnostic power? Well, it all comes down to collecting the right kinds of data, which are often called the 3 pillars of observability. Let's see how they all fit together. This table is the perfect cheat sheet. You've got logs, which tell you what happened at a specific moment. You've got metrics, which tell you when and how things were performing over time. And then you have traces, which tell you where and why something failed by showing you the whole journey. Each pillar answers a totally different but totally vital question. So first up, we have logs. The easiest way to think about these is like a super detailed diary that your application is keeping. Every single time something important happens, a user logs in, an error pops up, a file gets written, the app writes down an entry with a timestamp. It's the ground truth of exactly what happened, moment by moment. Next, we've got metrics. And if logs are the diary, then metrics are definitely the car's dashboard. They are numbers, things like CPU usage, how much memory is being used, how many requests are coming in per second, all measured over time. They don't tell you about one specific user's login, but they give you that crucial, high-level view of your system's overall health. And this is what that dashboard actually looks like in the real world. You're seeing a tool like Grafana here, which takes all those raw numbers and turns them into these beautiful, easy-to-read graphs. You can spot a spike in errors or a sudden drop in traffic in a split second. It turns a sea of numbers into something you can actually act on.
And finally, the 3rd pillar, traces. Now, this one is a real game changer for modern software. See, most apps these days aren't just one giant piece of code. They're made up of lots of smaller microservices that all talk to each other. A trace is like putting a GPS tracker on one single user request and following it as it bounces between all those different services.
So here's why that is so powerful. When a user complains that something was slow, a trace will show you exactly which step in the chain was the bottleneck. Oh, it looks like the call to the authentication service took 2 seconds. Or maybe the database query was the slow part. A trace doesn't just tell you there's a problem, it pinpoints exactly where the problem is. Okay, so that's the theory. It all sounds great, right? But how does this actually translate to the real world of developers, containers, and cloud servers? Let's get practical. I love this quote from a developer discussion on Reddit because it shows you how the tools people choose are really shaped by their environment.
In today's world of Kubernetes and containers, a tool like Fluentd became super popular for one simple reason. It was built for that world. It just fits perfectly into that cloud-native ecosystem.
And I know it's not just about picking the right tool. It's about using it the right way. Especially with logs, there are some hard and fast rules. You got to structure them, like using JSON, so machines can read them easily. You have to write meaningful messages with context. You have to pull them all into one central place. And of course, the big ones. Don't you dare log passwords or sensitive data, and please, don't ignore the performance hit.
And that last point about performance, it's not a small thing. Not at all. Check this out. One analysis found that picking a bad, inefficient logging library can literally slash your app's performance, its ability to handle requests, by a full 20%. That is a huge impact, which makes your tooling choices absolutely critical.
So we've got logs, we've got metrics, we've got traces. But the real magic, the real breakthrough, happens when you stop thinking of them as separate things and start using them all together.
Honestly, if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. It is not a competition. It's not logs versus metrics or traces versus logs. That's just the wrong way to look at it. Real, true observability, the kind that lets you solve those bizarre, novel problems in minutes instead of days, comes from the synergy of all three working in concert.
And here's exactly how that plays out. Your metrics dashboard screams at you that something is wrong. Hey, the error rate just spiked. That tells you when. So you jump over to your traces to see which specific service or endpoint is throwing all those errors. That tells you where. And finally, you zoom right into the logs for that service at that exact time to find the specific error message that tells you why. See? When, where, and why. Together, they give you the complete story.
So when you really think about it, a modern software system is constantly talking. It's communicating its health, its problems, its status, all through the languages of metrics, logs, and traces. The only question left is, are you listening? And are you fluent enough to understand everything it's trying to tell you?